Okay, Jones Brothers Jewelers in Peoria, Illinois. Isn't that the John Deere capital of the world? Or is that International
Let's
Harvester?
try that again. Caterpillar tractors. Thank you very
Caterpillar. All right, yeah, it's Caterpillar. So Bob Woolsey.
Woolsey. You had it. Like we'll see.
But I
Like
thought the
what do you
S
have
was
to
before
get
the
out of
L.
pizza? We'll see. Yeah, pretty easy. It's simple.
Jones Brothers. How did you get connected with Clientbook?
I believe that someone in our Plexus group of jewelers,
Mm-hmm.
we're in a group of jewelers with about, I don't know, 10 to 12 different stores.
Mm-hmm.
And it was either someone in that group or it came from Vince Rath and Optimum Retail Solutions.
Okay.
One of those two it had to have come from. Because I don't come up with ideas like this on my own.
Right. Well, okay. So your eyebrow raised, whoever was talking about it. But why? Why? I mean, didn't you have this need fulfilled within your current system?
We have been trying to solve the clienteling conundrum with
Good
the
word.
easy button for many years. And in the whole scheme of things, we actually went down the path of trying to set up a instance of Salesforce, which is way too complicated for my ADHD capacity.
Yep.
We've gone the handwritten route, which is great. We have our old trusty notebooks
Yep.
that we
Yep.
fill up,
Absolutely.
which, while they're a great crutch, kind of like Linus and his blanket, they don't work as employees come and go work at different places. And it's really hard to manage. So when somebody said you can do a app on your phone and it's pretty simple, and I started to look into it, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. It truly is the easy button because if I can use it on a daily basis, then anybody can.
Well, and you're ADHD like me, so it's perfect for jewelers who have a ton of stuff on their plates, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I would say that the application. So like I'm looking at my phone now, and a customer that was supposed to meet with me. We have a bridal event going on.
And you're
He messaged
talking with
me and said,
me.
"Yeah, it's perfect time." That he's sick, so he can't make it today.
Okay.
I might not have noticed that, but since it's on Clientbook and it comes through via text, it's like, oh, cool. And I can see every single one of my sales associates and what they're talking about to their customers today. So it becomes it's a real good managerial
Yeah.
practice as well.
Well, and for independent jewelers, it couldn't make more sense, especially what we've learned this last year, right? Through COVID and learning and wasn't it interesting how when our doors finally did open or we were able to do business, whether it be remotely or delivering out to our parking lots, that type of thing, customers still wanted to come through our doors because they love us, right? Our relationship that we've built.
Yeah, and one of the things we did during COVID was for those 6 weeks, we had like a kind of a daily outreach requirement to make sure we stayed in touch with people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's impressive how that truly made an impact. And I think that seems like so long ago that we did that, but it also got our sales team really plugged into the importance of clienteling. And one of our top producers would love to get to the point where she just works by appointment only.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think 5 years ago I could have seen how that would work, but with Clientbook now it's like, I mean, I think she has 10 appointments for Saturday for the bridal event, and I don't know that she can do 10 appointments on a Saturday. So
Wow.
it's pretty cool.
Wow. So how long have you had it?
I would say 3 years.
Okay. So you were an early adopter, so to speak, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So what's your biggest success story from it?
The great thing about Clientbook is the success stories just continue to get better
Oh,
because as the technology gets updated and gets adapted, you know, the most important thing that I see is if we gather the information and we put it in, it makes the running of the business like super easy.
Right. And
For the,
more even keel, I would
yeah, very
imagine.
even keel.
Yeah.
And so, I would say the evolution of like a customer comes in, they're not ready to buy an engagement ring today. And we have a tag that I think came from Ryan or someone within Clientbook that basically within 24 hours, you send them a thank you. Within
Mhm.
48 hours, you check back up with them. Within 5 days. And so all these things that these sheets that we used to have to try to keep track of
Yeah.
literally just reminds you every day. So my greatest success story would be all of those success stories of the organization that it takes somebody like me who's not the most organized and puts them in
Mhm.
when
Right.
it comes to constantly staying in touch with those sales that don't happen the day they come into the store.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like it's the sweet spot right where customers how they want to be contacted and
Yeah.
communicated with, right? They don't want phone calls. They don't want emails, right?
Yeah, it's via text. The one caveat that I will put in, which I was having a conversation with a young man today, um, family friend getting engaged, and I'm like, I always start email first because, with people working at home and phones laying on counters and stuff, if something comes through and said individual girlfriend sees like a picture or a message that says
Yeah.
something about a ring, they may see it on a text. So I'm probably a little more old school and say if you're trying to keep this secret, you might want to do it through email.
Right, right,
However,
right.
most young people are like, yeah, I don't necessarily
Yeah.
do that. So that's probably me being a little old school. And, I just, in the 25 plus years I've been here, I've seen surprises spoiled. So I kind of lead with that. And I think this new
Yep.
generation's like, well, if they see it and they're looking at my phone, that's their own fault. They shouldn't be looking. So
I love it. So pretty easy to get your team up to speed on this.
it's simple. Yeah.
Really?
And as you hire younger people, they're like, oh, this is easy.
You're right. What about older
I
people?
can do everything on this. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
Can older people do it?
Absolutely. Because I'm 47, bald, and consider myself older. So I actually grew up with, phones that you could do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd say that considers me old.
Yeah. So how soon did you start seeing an ROI?
So what I was comparing it to is like lab grown, we just put them in the case for a bridal event. And I said, let's just see what the customer's like.
Yeah.
That day, 50% of the customers chose lab grown. So I look at Clientbook as the same thing. We rolled it out. We put it on people's tablets that we purchased for them or their phones, whichever they prefer. And we just said, start engaging with the process. And, you're always going to have one or two people that like just rocket ahead with it.
Yeah.
And those people are the key to getting everybody else on board. Because if, Alex is doing this really well and she's an early adopter, then she can kind of bring everybody along with them because they'll see, oh my gosh, her life's a lot easier. Look, these
Yeah.
customers are coming in. This
Yeah.
makes so much more sense. And then the other piece is just coming up with a like client booking best practices because I would almost guarantee you that depending on when employees start at your store or start with it or their varying degrees of things, if you don't systematize it and say every diamond customer that doesn't buy needs to be tagged in such and such a way, every engagement ring sold needs to be, once you get that to where this is the process
Right.
and then you start inspecting what people are doing, I think it just becomes very quickly like a why wouldn't I do this versus oh I have to do this.
Right. Right. Beautiful. All right. So I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at what the cost is per month and thinking about is it right for my jewelry store. I got a pretty good POS system right now, pretty decent CRM. What advice would you give for people kind of poking at this and thinking about it?
So what is the cost? I don't even know because it's such a good product. I don't even check.
You know what? And that's funny because my old business partner and I used to have a saying, and it was cheaper than free. meaning the ROI was so good that it was it was the opposite of paying. So
Yeah, and the reason I ask is if it's a bill that I don't inspect monthly that I'm even concerned about looking,
yeah,
then obviously the return on investment is so good that I don't even look at that bill.
it's a no-brainer. Okay.
It's a no-brainer. What I would say is that in the jewelry industry, point of sale software programs are really good at
Mhm.
creating point of sale software programs.
Right.
That you have a skewed serialized inventory. You have the ability to take in repairs and notify customers. You have the ability to do special orders.
Hmm.
And all of that is a certain side of the brain.
Right. Right.
The other side of the brain would be like, okay, how do you take all this data and do something with it to generate sales? The technology that you need in clienteling is not the same that you need to learn how to plug the Geller book into the repair to make sure that you're charging $151 to size a white gold ring up 2 sizes
Right.
with 20 to 59 diamonds.
Yeah.
That's white, that needs rhodium and like that is great. We need that.
Yes.
Clienteling needs to be the easy button of, okay, I get that, but I'm not a goldsmith and I don't need to know all that. What I need to know is how can I make sure that Mark, who did not buy the 1 carat oval that he came in and looked at, is reminded tomorrow that he really liked it and that you can trust that I'll follow up with it, that you know that we're going to do a great job for you and we're going to stay involved and make sure that not only do we sell this, but we take care of your wedding bands and everything else. So I really look at it and say they've created a trust building app that makes clienteling, which is something we've always struggled with, really, really simple.
Awesome. Hey, Bob, were you paid to talk about this today?
No,
I wasn't either. We should get a check.
What's that?
We should get a check.
I'm actually one of my unique abilities is I find out where people are in life and what problems exist
Yeah.
and how to help them solve their problems and move to a happy ending. And I look
Yeah.
at it and say, if I did that every day of my life, and I wouldn't even require being paid for it. So
Right.
this is what I love to do. And I just think that our industry can make life so much easier if we utilize great technology that makes it easier. And Clientbook is one of those.
Awesome.